we're all entirely volunteer and depend on, it's something anybody can get involved in if they can deal with, you know, it's...
Okay. All right, well, can you walk me through what happens, let the public know what happens when someone actually calls 911 from a police rescue and, you know, what happens? I call 911, what's the procedure?
You call 911 and there's a dispatcher, a 911 dispatcher, that answers the phone. And they'll say 911 where or what is your emergency. The dispatcher then gets the information from the caller. Your address automatically comes up, but it's very important that you reiterate your address because what you're calling for may not be your address. It may be across the street. And with that, you want to make sure that wherever the call is that that's the exact place you need to go. The dispatcher will then tone out whatever department is needed, whether it be a rescue squad or a fire department, depending on what side of town it's on. And then from there, our pagers will go off. And we then will be given the address to respond to with the nature of whatever the problem is.
Okay. What happens if someone calls from a cell phone as opposed to from a regular landline?
If someone calls from a cell phone, it does not get transferred to the town that you're in. It gets transferred to the state police. And state police are actually very busy with their 911 system. So you need to give your exact location, where exactly you are on a cell phone. That's why it's very important if you can call from a landline. At least then, if something were to happen and you had to hang up, they could automatically come to where you are. As long as you hit 911 and then as soon as you touch that last one, it automatically connects and it'll come in as a 911 hang up if you happen to hang up the phone before you're able to talk. Automatically, the dispatcher will then send a police officer to the location of where the 911 call came in. So if you're unable to speak, all you have to do is dial 911.
The 3 numbers, okay. And walk me through what happens from a volunteer's standpoint when their pager goes off. And also if you can tell me what happens if there aren't enough volunteers to go on the call or if there are 2 calls at the same time.
Okay, well, when the pager goes off, it depends, you know, if you're, as a volunteer, the squad is designed where each evening there's a duty crew.
Okay.
So, and then we also have a first response vehicle that goes directly, when the pager goes off, would go directly to the scene. The other members that are designated for the call, for the duty night, this is a single call first off, would all go to the building. They have, you know, not breaking any laws or anything. We go as quickly as we possibly can, get to the building, and on the radio announce that, you know, we're there, we're ready to go, or what our situation is, how many members we have. If we need more, they'll tone out again. If for some reason somebody can't make it, or if it's a call that we need extra people, we might indicate for people to go directly to the scene, or, you know, to come. Sometimes we've called for, in certain situations, for a fireman driver. We do work with the fire department, with the Jefferson Fire Department, and assisting us there at times if we're shorthanded, and go to the scene and find out anything further en route. By the time we get to the building, often the dispatcher knows more about the situation than he may have known, she may have known at the point when it first goes out. So they'll fill us in on the status of the patient, how it's changed, anything like that, and we go to the scene, meet up with first response there, and do whatever's necessary. If certain calls, dispatcher may automatically, certain things that are more life-threatening, may automatically dispatch paramedics to the scene as well.
Okay.
They're coming from further away, so they don't usually get there as quickly as we do, but then we can either cancel them if we find that it's not necessary, or tell them to come on in and let them know what the status is, and we get the patient ready to go to the hospital, vital signs, if they need oxygen, if they need whatever help we can get. If it's a broken bone or something like this, we try and get it stabilize any bleeding, whatever the problem is.
Okay. If somebody calls 911, do they get into the hospital, are they seen faster at the hospital? As if, you know, if a family member were to take them, is there really a difference? How is that determined?
No, not at all. The hospital actually determines, they triage. Triage is a sorting process. They when you get to the hospital, we'll actually look at the patient and decide what the urgency is there. If there are times where it's very important for a person not to drive a patient to the hospital themselves, if you have chest pain, difficulty breathing, something that might develop and you want medical help as soon as possible, you're far better calling 911 and having the rescue squad come and be able to give much more immediate care. If it's a minor injury or something, a cut that's controllable, or something that a parent could put the kid in the car and take them, then it's the difference at the hospital. The hospital will immediately triage and decide the urgency. So it doesn't really make a thing that way.
Can you tell me, how do people prepare for emergencies, especially if they have medical problems or allergies? What can people do in advanced preparation, especially, say, senior citizens?
Well, especially senior citizens or somebody that has a past medical history that may have a lot of medications, or someone that's highly allergic to something, definitely keep a list. Just even a loose leaf piece of paper on the refrigerator with big letters saying medications, allergies, and you can just have it right on your refrigerator, put it up there with a magnet. And this way, you're not really in your right mind when there's an emergency, especially if it's a loved one. And if you're there by yourself and something happens, we will look at your refrigerator. We will be looking, you know, to see if there's any medications, because some medications can't be given with other medications. And so we need to know if you're allergic to a medication, that we don't, you know, that the paramedics or the hospital doesn't give you the wrong medication. So just loose leaf piece of paper, just writing on their medications, putting it on your refrigerator, and leaving it there. If you're off a medication, you can always just cross it out. You don't have to make a new list. If you're on a new medication, you can just add it. So it's very easy. Just put it up there, because you're not really thinking in an emergency. Right. So that helps us out, it helps the hospital out, and it will help you out too.
You may not even be conscious. You know, you could be alone at home and, you know, have something that happens and a neighbor calls. Nobody knows what's going on. I mean, with this, we have an idea of past history, different things that can really be life-saving. I mean, literally. Right.
Is it a good idea then for people to wear ID bracelets?
Oh, definitely.
In situations like that?
Sure. They have, actually, I'm not sure where you get them. Maybe you can speak to your doctor, find out, but you can get, they have standardized things for things like diabetes, seizures, all kinds of problems, pacemakers, different things like this. They have ID bracelets, necklaces, and things like this that you can wear as well as.
I would think something like that could save your life.
Oh, definitely. It certainly gives us a one-up on a situation. Even if it's not necessarily life-saving, it helps to diagnose. An emergency department doesn't necessarily have any of your past history when you go in. It's not like going and seeing your family doctor.
Okay. Tell me about the rescue squad trying to find homes, especially at night. Is it difficult to find some of the locations when you're giving an address? First off, I have to say I think it's amazing that you guys seem to know pretty much where every home in Jefferson Township is. That's got to be a pretty big accomplishment in itself. But I'm sure there are some places that are more difficult to find than others. So, what do you recommend, and what should people know about that in a life-threatening situation? Well,
first thing is, as soon as you dial 911, before I just want to reiterate that you should definitely tell them your address again, because sometimes there are, you know, mistakes. If you dial 911 from one address, it could show up differently on the screen. So you want to make sure that your address is definitely given to a dispatcher. Secondly, you want to make sure that you have your number on the outside of your house, even on your mailbox in reflective lettering, because it's very important. We're looking, so are the police officers, with, you know, our side lights, our lights or whatever, to try and find your house. Secondly, or thirdly, I should say, is that go outside, put the light on. If it's not a life-threatening situation that you're still on the phone with the dispatcher, going outside, flipping on a light, making sure that the front door is unlocked and opened. That's very important too, because that takes away time if we have to try and find your house. And two, if we're unable to gain access to your house, we have to find a way to get in to help you. So it is important to try and flip on a light. Anything to help us like that would be great.
Okay. And do you think the public knows what it means when they see cars driving with blue lights? Because I've noticed that myself.
Apparently not.
People don't pull over, and I don't know if they actually know who the people are with the blue lights in their vehicle. So maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
You know, it's like we all, most of us work, and oftentimes rush hour, you're in a hurry to get to work, and you're like, boy, I don't want to get to work late. There's a lot of traffic out here now, I'm sure more than in years past. But if you consider your family, if it was your family or something like this, just pulling to the side or something when you see that blue light can make, I mean, until we get to the ambulance where we rely on the blue lights as just an assistance. We don't break laws trying to get there, but any assistance, if you can just, we're in and out, we're really not taking space up on the road. We're just trying to get to the building to get to our ambulance to get on the way. So if people can be aware when they see that light flashing, we're not a tow truck, we're not like trying to get a broken car off the road or something like that. We're really just trying to get to the building to get our ambulance and get to people. If it's not a real urgent call, we often don't even put the blue lights on. So when we have the blue lights on, it really...
So people should basically move out of the way, and the same thing
try to pull to the side and, you know, give us room to get by. We'll be out of your way in no time.
Okay, and I know that people should also obviously pull over when they see the ambulance because it could be their loved one or a friend or a neighbor in the vehicle as well. Can you briefly tell me, is Jefferson prepared for disasters, natural or terrorist, and does the rescue squad have training sessions with other departments?
Yeah, well, we work with our own departments, the fire department, police department, other squads. I'd say, I'd hate to say we're prepared for anything, but we really work to be prepared for anything we can think of. There's also things done through the state with large-scale type incidents of, I mean, God forbid, but airplanes going down, things like this, train. So we work with other squads. We work to be able to, we have meetings monthly with all the other squads in Morris County and discuss different ways to deal with situations when there's any major event or anything like this. We have contingency plans if something should happen or whatever to be able to assist and not leave our own town in any kind of deficit, you know, because if everybody runs to a problem, there's nothing in case for your regular everyday things that continue to go on.
So basically we're pretty much prepared
for everything that we can think of, you know, open to new ideas.
Very good. Well, we'll be back in just a moment to discuss donations, fundraising, and membership. Hi, we're back with volunteers from the Jefferson Rescue Squad, Jeff Herbert and Maury Cahill, and we're going to talk about donations, fundraising, and membership. Maury, can you tell me, how do you solicit donations for the Rescue Squad?
We actually do a mailer. We used to do it every year, and we started doing it every other year. So this year is our year to do our mailer. Okay. And we'll be sending out a donation slip with a little pamphlet about the Jefferson Rescue Squad with some statistics and how many calls we went on, emergencies, mutual aid calls. And with that will be a little bit, a little stub that you can send back in with a donation. And we actually need every donation that we get because we're not funded by anything else. Our donations is what keeps the squad going. We have to buy, you know, our maintenance of our vehicles, equipment, all the new technology that comes out. We need to purchase that ourselves. So we count on donations. Currently, we're in the midst of preparing to buy some property and build a new building so that we're not on the major highway, so that we can get to calls faster, hopefully, and we don't have to deal with the traffic as far as, and they're not interrupted by us coming down the highway at the same time. So right now, it's very important that, you know, we pinch our pennies and everything else, and, you know, but at the same time, it's very important that we get our fundraisers out there and we do get money back because we have to buy the major equipment to save people's lives because that's what we're here for.
Okay. And what can you tell me about the auxiliary and how do they raise funds?
We actually have a wonderful ladies auxiliary. They range from all different ages. Most of the time you'll see them sitting out in front of Pathmark, whether it's raining or you know, 102-degree days. They're wonderful. They actually are members that either have retired off of the squad because they no longer can do it or don't have the time to do it. For those that can't handle the gory stuff, that's another aspect that they can do to help join the squad. But they go out and they actually are our backbone of our squad as far as our donations and raising extra money that we need. And they, at the end of each year, they have the money that they have collected and they present it to us once a year, and we give them a list of items that we feel is important to replace or get new each year. And in a little bit, Jeff will explain to you about our AEDs, and that's what we're going for this year, is to get some new AEDs for the squad. So,
can anyone join the auxiliary?
Anyone can, as long as you're 16 and older with your parents' permission, all the way up until you're 150 if you'd like.
Okay. Are you part of the fire department, or are you separate from the fire department?
We're very separate from the fire department. Although we work very closely with the fire department, we are two separate departments, entities, however you want to put it. And we both do different functions, although we do work very well together. And you may see them on our calls, or we may be on their calls. So we do support one another very well. But as far as money donations, when theirs goes around and when ours goes around, it is separate.
Okay. And Jeff, can you tell me, is there a state mandate for equipment and vehicles? And does Jefferson need more donations, as Maury was saying?
Oh,
it sounds like you do.
Always. It's ambulances are supposed to be replaced in every certain amount of years, so we rotate as time goes on. As an older one, sometimes we can put a box on, that's the rear area, the patient care area, but eventually the engines wear out as well, and you need to do that. But there are actual time considerations that you have to replace vehicles. As new technology becomes available, you need to update your equipment. Well, we'll talk, you're going to ask about AEDs later, I think.
Yes,
so,
actually, my next question to you was if you can explain what AEDs are and how, when people donate,
yeah, this is
the type of equipment.
Our next thing right now is because they've recently come, well, an AED is an automatic external defibrillator. When a person has a heart attack, their best chance of survival, an adult, basically their best chance of survival is an AED put on within 3 to 5 minutes from the point that they go down. Now, you can begin CPR, which buys a little time, but you want to get that AED on, which can correct or at least stop the heart to allow its pacemaker cells to take over again.
Okay.
This is what's really going to save a life. And they now have equipment that's able to, the ones we have now are updated from ones we had to get before, the adjusted shocks. These are now more sophisticated, but now they have ones that can adjust for small children as well, which is much more rare. But there are cases where children can use a defibrillator as well for a heart or cardiac arrest.
Okay.
And it's the police carry them, we carry them. As time goes on, they're being used in airports, in restaurants in the city.
So it's an
important thing, and to have them state of the art or current as they become better. So this is our next big project. It's to get the new defibrillators that are able to actually be used on children and things. It's a wonderful piece of equipment. The save rate with AEDs is enormous compared to without.
So if people want to contact you, if they want to send in a donation, do you have a website or a phone number they can contact you at?
Oh yeah, they can call the building. Do you want the number?
Sure. If you want to tell our viewers the number.
Okay, it's 973-663-1121, and you can leave a message with your number, and we'll get back to you. We'll send you any information on that. The website is
JTRS.com.
And that has some pictures. It has some other information, general information that maybe we covered, and other things aside. So
people can learn
history and all about the squad.
Excellent. And as far as membership, do you need a medical background to become a volunteer?
Not at all. I was a photographer for 20, 25 years, and never, I mean, Boy Scouts and stuff like that, I did first aid, but nothing, you know, I knew how to put a Band-Aid on myself and stuff like that. Coming out here, I got a letter for a donation and followed up on it to take a CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation course, and they told me about the volunteers. I wasn't even aware that, and I've lived in New Jersey for a long time, about half my life. I wasn't even aware that squads were volunteer or that you could join them, and you're really trained in when you know what you're doing, it's not as scary as, you know,
right.
When something happens and you're at home and you don't know what to do, it's a frightening thing, you know.
Exactly. Well, is there an extreme need for members volunteering, you know, during certain shifts?
Yes, actually, we take anyone that will offer their time and services because it only enhances and makes our squad better to serve the community. But days is a very, very tough spot because a lot of people work, and that's actually someone that works in town. They actually can help. They may not even realize it, but if you work anywhere in town at any of the local businesses and you're willing and want to help, if you could give us, you know, a couple hours each day that you'd be willing to come out and ride, we put you through the training. And, you know, any little bit will help, like I said, but days is our biggest problem.
Even one day a week or something, that, you know, a full member is asked to put in a 12-hour shift.
Okay.
But, you know, there are associates and things like this where somebody can do less than, if that's all I mean, help is, you know.
Okay, and I think you said the age requirement, the minimum age requirement was 16?
Correct, 16 to be what's considered a cadet member, and after 18 you become a full-fledged member.
Jeff, can you tell me some of the benefits of membership? Is there life insurance or any type of educational training?
Yeah, actually,
continuing education?
we just recently, the town, y'all voted and gave us, thank you very much, LOSAP, it's called, Length of Service, how is it? Length of Service Awards Program. Yeah, which puts in, each call, each different thing you do for the squad gives you a certain amount of points, and then those go into an account, and it goes toward retirement and that, which is a big thing. The town will help with school for not only yourself but for your family. It won't pay for college, but it will help. And they're starting, the First Aid Council is looking to start shortly a life insurance, which would enable members that have been with the squad 3 years a life insurance that they would take with them even after leaving. You know, 1 year small, 2 years a little more, and then 3 years would be fully stated with that.
Who pays for a training if you want to sign up to become an EMT? Is that, if I wanted to become an EMT, would I pay for that myself? Is it funded by anybody?
Actually, if you decided that you wanted to become an EMT, you would join the squad, and it's actually funded through the state right now, which is wonderful because we used to have to pay for each person to go through an EMT course. But right now, all of our funding for all of our classes, including your continuing education certifications, all comes out of a state fund, which is wonderful because it doesn't tax the squads as much as far as financially, because it's about $250, $300 to take, I believe that's the cost, to take an EMT course. So, which is wonderful that the state has put together that funding for us.
I understand the squad also offers some type of CPR training if you make a donation and you have a minimum number of people, you know, in a group. Can you tell me a little bit about how that program works? It
would be wonderful if everyone knew basic CPR, because that CPR started when somebody goes down into a cardiac arrest, buys the time for that AED that we talked about before. So we're happy to do for, like, basically, we'd like to have a donation to the squad, but but to have, and the cost of the certification itself, we'll train, but it's very hard to do for one person at a time. So what we ask is, if a group of people, we've done for Boy Scouts, for merit badges and things like this, Girl Scouts, any group, a group of parents that want to get together and take something so that they can better help, babysitters, things like this. But to get a group, 6 to 8 people or larger, but as long as they can set up, we'll make the arrangements. Again, that same phone number, you could call and we'll get back to you with that. It's just, it's very hard for us to really organize times. We've tried before, and it's people, one person can do this day, one person can do another, so we kind of ask for you to set together and get a group to put it together, and we'll be happy to supply the training. We have the equipment to do the training. We can do all different levels, from your friends and family, it's called, which is just a simple babysitter, parents to know to quick fix a situation,
Okay.
to a first aid course, or, you know.
Excellent. Sounds.
I just want to reiterate one thing, is that what Jeff was saying about the donation part, it's a $5 to get the card. That's the donation
Okay.
that
Yeah.
we're talking about, that we don't want you to think that, you know, you have to give us money. Just, we would love to teach everyone in the town CPR, so
We'd
that,
accept more, but
You could
as we're
save a life.
saying, we
right,
yeah.
just to cover the minimal expenses.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you both for being here today and answering my questions, and hopefully our viewers will help out the rescue squad by either donating or volunteering. If you want more information about the Jefferson Rescue Squad, you can contact them at 973-663-1121. I'm Lori Zook, and thanks for joining us today on Jefferson Highlights Community Television. Hopefully our viewers will help out the Jefferson Rescue Squad by making a donation or by volunteering. For more information, please call 973-663-1121 or log on to jeffersonrescue.com. For Jefferson Highlights Community Television, I'm Lori Zook.